In this video, we're going to be looking at how to angle the walls of our cabin to meet the roof line. So if it's a log cabin, for example, how do we take these logs and angle them so they meet some sort of roof line? Or if it's a walled cabin, how do we do the same thing? So often there's going to be a box, but there has to be an area here to match the roof line. So we're going to look at both of those two scenarios. We're going to start with the log cabin. So if you're doing a walled cabin and you want to fill in a gap here, you may want to fast forward in the video to a certain point. So log cabin. First of all, the idea of a log cabin is you have been shown previously how to make a roof line. You can see an old video for that. But what you want to do is extend the logs beyond the top of the roof. Now the first thing you want to do, and the idea is that we want to combine, or in this case it's actually called attach, you want to attach all of the logs that need to be cut off, so in my case these three and maybe the top four, into one object. So in order to do that, you want to select one of the logs, doesn't matter which one. You want to add a modifier called edit poly to it. So when you add an edit poly modifier onto one of the logs that you'd like to saw off, there's an option down lower that if you scroll down called attach. Now if we activate attach so that it's blue, you can select the other logs that you want to saw off. So these are all one object now. You also have to deselect attach when you're done. So that's your first step. The second step I'm going to show you with the box that I've already created, and then I'll do it myself. The idea is you want to create an object that you want to subtract or use as kind of a cutoff tool for those logs. Okay, so I've already created one here. I'll show you the second side in a second. But the idea is you'd select now this single set of logs that you want to subtract from. You would go to a drop-down menu on the Create tab called Compound Objects. The compound object we're going to use is called ProBoolean. So you're going to go to Compound Objects, ProBoolean, and then the word Start Picking. And basically you start picking what you would like to subtract from the log. So when I click on this big box, those logs are subtracted. Okay? Now let me just show you one more time. So and then you have to deselect Start Picking. So easiest way is to go to a top-down view to basically realize which logs you want to cut off. So the logs I want to cut off in this case are right here. I'm going to make a box that's much, much bigger and thicker than those logs, right? It has to be much bigger and thicker. Then I'm going to go to a different view that will help me lay it in to that roof line. So there's my massive box. I'm going to bring it up. And the next thing you want to do is as you rotate, you may find that you're still moving by increments of 5 and it might not match. So you may have to briefly turn off your angle snap toggle. So, but make sure you turn it on again later so that your walls and everything can be square. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to move it down to meet the roof line, and there we go. See, the idea here is that that box is thicker than the logs, it's inside the roof line, and it's going to be used to cut off those logs. So my next step is to select the log. So you can see that box is in the roof line, looks good. I might as well activate the angle snap toggle again for later so I don't make mistakes on that. But select the logs you want to cut off. They're all attached now. Go to a Compound Objects, ProBoolean, Start Picking, and then click on the box. And then deactivate Start Picking. So that's how to saw off logs. Now, the alternative is, what if you want to actually fill in a triangular gap here, whoops, that you've created on a walled cabin. So you can see that's the case right here. I've got kind of this triangular gap in this scenario. Okay, so in order to do that, what you would do is create a box, and I don't have one there yet, but maybe I'll do this perhaps on the back of the house or something. But you're going to create a box to fill in that gap. But I'm going to go to my top-down view. You probably are going to want to duplicate upwards, but my top-down view, I'm going to make a box. That's the same size of that wall. Bring it upwards and fill in the gap first of all. But the idea here is this is actually a little bit simpler. You won't necessarily need a ProBoolean. You can just add an edit poly, and let me just show you what I mean by that. So if I add an edit poly, so I'm going to go to the Modify tab, edit poly, go to Vertex Select, and probably go to a view that's a little bit more direct angle. So in my case, it looks like it's going to be the left view here. And you can see all those sets of vertices that you can just now, with your Vertex Select activated, you can select them, move them in, so that they're all inside of the roof line, and take these bottom ones and move them up and over so that they're also inside the roof line. And you can see there I've just taken a box and I've made it more of a triangular prism to fill in that gap there. So if I deactivate vertex, I'm done, and you can see there I've got myself kind of a triangular prism that fills in that particular gap.